This is a magnetic ND. I've never really quite liked them because I thought they would just come off, but actual fact, this isn't going anywhere. And that is because it is a very strong magnetic connection. Plus, you have the safety of these little screws, which you will need to have to tighten up for a variable. So, let's get into it. When Freewell reached out to myself and said, we'd like you to send you some variable ND filters, magnetic ones to review, and I was a bit apprehensive because I've heard all sorts of nightmares about magnetic filters falling off of cameras, and I was a bit like, really? But then they told me that these ones are different. These are their version 2, and they have these screws on the side, so you just tighten it up. And for variable ND, you're going to have to tighten up. Otherwise, when you start twisting it, the whole magnetic thing will twist. But not only that, you get a lovely lens cap to go on it as well. Which just, oh, did you hear that? That sounds great. And then when you're not using it, so you just take it off your lens, you get one for the other side as well. But as you can see, this has a ring pull style on it. That shows how strong this magnet is. I mean, literally, I'm no kidding you. I'll take the back one off easier. Let's put it there. And then, honestly, I did actually thought when I got this, so is there some sort of special way of taking it off? But that shows you how secure it is on there. So most ND filters you get, they don't have a cap with them, but this is absolutely brilliant. Now, these shots here of me just posing in the forest, making it thoughtful. And again, this is without the lens flare from the sun. It's just me there, so you can see the color difference, both on the trees and on my skin. And as you can tell, it does a fantastic job. I cannot spot any color differences in these at all. So let's run over some of the specs. And yes, it's an ND filter, it still has specs. So this is the V2 Magnetic Hybrid Variable ND, which is what I always recommend. Has 3 to 7 stops, which is equivalent of ND8 to 128. So it goes very dark. And you get it from 49mm thread all the way up to 2. My advice always is to go for the larger ones and then use step up rings. You'll save yourself some bucks. And these are German Optics multi-layered coating, which are very strong against scratch, dust, water and oil. And best of all, if you know your NDs, there's no X in the middle when you take it all the way up to 128. If you've ever experienced NDs, most of the time you have to screw them on. Now, caveat to these NDs, you do have to put the ring on one time only onto your lens. Like any ND, that's how long it takes to screw on, and then you fix it on and then you just secure the mounting each side. So at the start of this video on the hook, when I was shaking it around, those weren't screwed on at all and it still didn't come off. But you need them screwed on in order to move this mechanism around to adjust the light coming through. And as you can hear, it is very, very smooth. So in your kit, you get a lovely case. Freewell were kind enough to send us a couple because it's not just me in the business. I've got my colleague Rob as well, who's behind the camera recording this. This comes in absolutely a gorgeous, gorgeous case. Now, it's a bit bulky. You may not want to carry it around with you all the time. And then you lift this up, as you can see in here. Let's try and do this for you. We've got another one just here. Then you have your back plate, and then you have your ring, which is actually on this lens here. This keeps it all nice and clean for you. And if you do want to carry it on outside your pack, you do have this D-ring on the back, but I wouldn't really recommend doing that. This isn't actually the lightest type of ND you can get. It does add a bit of weight, but if you're rocking a full frame camera like we do, it's really negligible and it won't offset any sort of gimbal balancing or anything like that. So it's important to remember that NDs are used to reduce the light going into your lens. So what we've done, we went out into a forest and we wanted to test this out. We wanted to show you the difference, whether there's any color differences, and I'm going to tell you there's none. There might be some slight difference on exposure because when you've got an ND on, you've got to expose it different compared to an ND off. So what we did, we filmed it pointing up at the sun so that you can see how a lens flare actually acts on this. Alongside it, you have one which hasn't got the filter on there, so you can see that there's nothing in it at all. So what I always worry about is how light's going to react. There's another piece of glass, especially at ND, but as you can see, it looks rather beautiful. So as I mentioned, Freewell kindly sent these to us to review, and I am of that channel where I will not review a product unless I'm actually prepared to use it in our productions. And we have, and they're absolutely brilliant. They've surpassed our previous ND filters. They're far more convenient. The quality of them are absolutely brilliant, but it does come at a price. These are not cheap, but if you have spent thousands on your glass, thousands on your camera, you don't want to skimp out on a cheap ND. These come in at £149, but you only have to buy them once. I also mentioned that you want to go for the largest thread possible, but if you are using crop sensor cameras where the lenses are smaller, probably find that middle ground. So what do you think, guys? Are you using variable ND filters, specifically magnetic ones? If you've got any questions, comment below. And as always, thanks for watching. And if you love this video, you may well love this one coming up next. Take care.